Wake up. Wake up. Take the breath and open your eyes. Feet on the floor. It's time to rise. Bite the apple or eat the cake. For your future and your child's sake. Watch the news, but hear the lies. Enjoy your brew, but it's time to rise. Put down your phone and see the world. The presented reality will be unfurled. The day is yours, or has it been sold for a prize? Fill your shoes, it's time to rise. Do your job, pay your tax, or learn the system and see the cracks. Work and work to your demise, or make a stand, it's time to rise. Wake up. Wake up.
Welcome back to Blueprint Podcast. Unfortunately, during the making of this episode, I had some technical difficulties, so the video accompanying this episode isn't of the highest quality. But if you still want to go check it out, have a look on YouTube. If not, carry on listening via your podcast provider. My interview was with James Brennan. He's a 4 Scots veteran and a tattoo artist. His tattoo work is phenomenal. Please go check it out at jamesbrennantattoos.com or find him on Instagram. But here's the interview between me and James Brennan. How much time did you spend in? It was 4 Scots you were in, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I was with the Highlanders, which then became 4 Scots. 12 years I did. So I would have done longer, but the change of the pensions kind of forced my hands.
Yeah, fair enough. But whilst you're in, obviously, I've seen your artwork on your Instagram and on your website. Whilst you're in, how did you perfect that skill whilst still serving?
Yeah, so I started tattooing since 2005. So we come back from Telex 7, and then I was going to get, so straight from Telex 7 I went on to juniors, and then straight after that got married, so I had like banked up a load of leave. So during the leave was based in Germany, and I was going to get a new tattoo on leave, but I mean social media wasn't a big thing. I think you had like MySpace and Bebo or something. So I bought a few tattoo magazines to look for some inspiration on what to get. And in the back of it was a starter kit for like €150. So I thought, oh, I can draw. So I just bought that and then started from there, really.
The stuff I found really impressive is the portrait type stuff. Because I've seen some horrors, in the past when somebody tries to do a portrait, it doesn't always come out exactly how you want it to, or somebody would like it to. How do you, with your portraits being absolutely spot on, how do you perfect that?
Attention to detail. So there's naturally I've always, so even as a young child, as far back as I can remember, I've always drawn and a little bit of painting, but not too much. But I've always drawn with pencils and charcoal, and always going more towards the realism side was always easier for me than trying to do like a stylized or cartoonized version or a simplified version. So I don't know whether it's like OCD type traits and everything, but I become very fixated on anything I do. So when I'm drawing, I'm always kind of like trying to capture the likeness as close as I can. The secret with any type of drawing or art is to just focus on that one bit you're doing, and then every now and then look at the bigger picture, and then just come back in. So you're not getting overwhelmed with the whole lot. You just, if you're working on a nose and making sure the highlights are in the right place and the darks are in the right place, then it just starts building and goes from there.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, I'm probably the opposite to you. I cannot zone in. You know, I think my mind wanders too much. So when it comes to drawing and painting and stuff like that, I'm terrible at it. But when it comes to poetry, I'm all right because I can sort of like I like to think of the whole poem, you know,
Yeah.
start to finish. Obviously, you've got to concentrate on the little lines as you're going along, but like with artwork and being fine tooth comb detail like you do, very impressive. I mean,
Oh, thanks.
you've not just got the poetry sorry, the tattooing going on. You've got, you know, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I noticed that on your Instagram. So with the Brazilian jiu-jitsu and the tattooing, how does that help you mentally, day-to-day life?
So it's a bit of a double-edged weapon. So it helps. So when I'm so engrossed in a tattoo, or if I'm training doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you can't think of anything else. So if I've got like, oh, tax returns due, or this bill's due, or I've got this going on at home, similar to, you know, what when I was in, I'm not sure if are you still serving or
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
yeah. So you know when you're in and then you get that deployment, or you go going away on exercise, or once you get in them barracks and this is going on, and then you can just switch off from home life and just get straight to work and be a professional soldier. With the exact same thing when I'm tattooing, it becomes like, or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I can't think of, oh, I've got to do this when I get home. I've got this is a bit delayed on this return or anything like that. Because if I lack of concentration with the tattooing, I'll mess it up. And if you do that with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, then you're going to get squashed. You know, so it's a good release for me. That it's like, it's almost like meditation in a way, because you can't think of anything else other than what you're doing. The downside is you then start to use that as an escape mechanism from normal life.
Like escapism.
Yeah.
Some people use escapism by, you know, watching Rick and Morty or whatever on Netflix or whatever. But your escapism is, yeah, getting into that tattoo, getting into the Brazilian jiu-jitsu. My escapism, I guess, would be I do ice baths, which, because it's so cold, you can't think of anything else other than I'm body popping here, breakdancing in a tub of ice. And then I've recently started up motorbike training. So I've got my mod 2 coming up soon for my motorbike, and it's one of those things that you can't lose concentration, you know, because if you do, you're going to splat yourself across, you know, some bus or something. So it's good to have these little hobbies that take your mind off of the troubles of the world, because if you paid too much attention to the news, you'd be swamped with troubles.
Yeah. The other good thing with this was the other draw with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was it's the closest thing I've found for what I was missing from the army. So like that, you know, everyone driving with fitness, you got that like brotherhood type feel to it, that affects of you've got that extra place to go where you've got like-minded people. And, you know, I've tried different things, whether it be getting into like bushcraft or, you know, going shooting, or, you know, you try and join all these extra clubs and nothing scratches the itch. But this has been the closest thing to scratch that itch of deep down what you're missing, but you're trying to find what you're missing.
Yeah, I completely get that. I mean, from a young age, I used to do a lot of surfing, which is kind of like an individual sport. You know, if you can go out with friends, whatever. And since I've joined the army, I've moved away from the coast, and I've been through so many hobbies. I've been through bike riding, hill walking, rock climbing, golf. You know, you name it. I've tried a hobby to try and scratch that itch and get that sort of thing that I've missed. And yeah, I can see myself that when I leave the forces, and that brotherhood and that bond that we all have whilst we're in, being lost and then having to go through a process of finding some new brotherhood and bond. You've always got your old colleagues, but it's not the same when you're serving to when you're out, I guess.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, it's like I still keep in touch quite regularly with you know, my friends and all that I used to serve with. But it's not quite the same. If you're not in that loop. So it's like, oh, what you have a good shift about. You know, they're all complaining about something that's going on, and you're just out in the background, like it's not bothering me. So it's yeah.
I've heard that a lot from people who do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, is like mega for all aspects of mental health. So you've got the physical side of it. You know, you want to be making sure your nutrition is right, so you're on the best stead going against your opponent. You've got the community side of it, the expression of, you know, getting angry, using your aggression, using your emotions to tackle an opponent, using your you know, mental capacity to figure out ways of getting in and out of bad situations. So the mental health aspects of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu are phenomenally, you know, awesome. And then, like you say, going into those escapism zones where you can just sort of like do your tattoo and do your art and all that sort of stuff is fantastic as well. Question I always want to ask tattooists is, what's the most like bizarre sort of request you've had for a tattoo?
I'm pretty fortunate at the way I do like my tattooing and the style of tattoos and stuff like that is it gives me the freedom to be quite selective. So it's very rare I actually get them like not fun, them like create fun story ones, you know, where you'd be like, oh, I had to do this in this awkward place. Because if it's not my style, it's not, then I just say no to it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was first learning, you tattoo it in the block. Then there was some funny ones. You know, I've done like purple Ronnie Stickman going through like the pubic area. Done a squash cockroach in the bottom of a foot. Yeah, so you've got like funny ones like that.
You don't want ones to ruin your reputation, do you? You don't want somebody to go, oh, this guy, I asked him to do this, now I've got like a squashed banana under, you know, whatever.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, you could do like 1,000 or like 100 amazing tattoos, but if you did one bad one, and that's then what everyone's going to know you for. So, like the shit definitely sticks more than the good. You've kind of got to be careful with it. Like a big thing with me was which kind of, there's a lot of artists who are on the same wavelength as me, but there is some still out there that still have this mentality where they just want the money there and then, so they'll take on anything, you know. And I get it, if you've got bills to pay, you need to do that. But if you aim for like the long term, then it always works better. You know, keep that moral high grounds, just ride the storm out, but stick to your morals. And then the end result is you end up with loads of people just want what you want to do. And then it works, you know?
Yeah, this is the thing with tattoo artists. You could go to a tattoo artist and say, you know, somebody say, oh, I want to get this butterfly done on my back. And one tattooist would say, oh yeah, 30 quid. Another tattooist would say 150 quid, for example. And you'd be like, then they'd say, oh, you're comparing them. Oh, this other person's only going to do it for 30 quid. You'd be like, yeah, well, then you need to question why they're doing it for 30 quid. Maybe they haven't quite perfected their craft yet. Maybe I've spent 10 years, 20 years perfecting my craft, and you're paying for that that craftsmanship being created.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because good tattoos aren't cheap. It is the thing. Little plug in there, like every time I tattoo someone, and then I find out, you know, the military, or they tell me, and that's not, they can't just add that in there and they wear it like a waltz or something. But you know, I'll always do a little bit of discount, and I'm always more flexible with any of the guys that are military or like on the circuit or anything like that, because I know what it's like with like you know, forecast of events changing. You know, the army or the military being a great thing. It's not the most organized, is it? You know, if it was a civilian company, they'd probably be bankrupt. So
yeah, things change really rapidly. So you've got to yeah. It's
so,
like the old don't book yourself a holiday this leave, because there's stuff going on in the, you know, far off countries.
Make sure you got that travel insurance, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So we might as well plug away. So you've got jamesbrennantattoo.com. if anyone wants to go and check that out, that's a phenomenal little website you've got going on there. At Stag and Bones Tattoo. Is that the predominant?
Yeah, so that's the studio one. And then I've got like my own Instagram as well. It's just James Brennan Tattoos. I don't know what my Facebook one is. It's just linked to my Instagram.
Yeah, Facebook's old now, though, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, very. Trying to push TikTok a little bit, but I feel old. I keep having to ask my 11-year-old daughter to make reels for me.
No, I know exactly how you feel. Whilst you got the airtime, where's the best place for people to come find your studio? Do you want to plug that address?
Yeah, so I'm based in Liverpool. So the shop's in a little place called Dovecot in Liverpool, about 10 minutes on a bus from the city centre. Yeah, if you Google Stag and Bones Tattoo Studio, that'll give you the address from there. But I'm not in the city centre, but it kind of works good. So I'm banging between the M57 and the M62. We've got the main bus route into the city centre, right next to John Lennon Airport, or not far. Train station, Roby train station, is 1.5 miles away. We've got free parking outside. There's a cafe that come in, take orders right next door. And then we've got KFC, Burger King, pizza place.
You're in a nice little spot then for...
Yeah, everything works perfect. 0 business rates, so can't complain.
Yeah, nice. So let's talk about more of your career in the forces then, and why you've sort of like, may have left and gone into tattooing. So what do you want, if you do want to talk about it, what sort of like op tours were you on whilst you're in?
Okay, so first tour was Bosnia, 2003, and then next tour was Telex 7. That was 2004 to 2005, and then it was Herrick 14, and then Herrick 19/20. So it was a bit of a long tour, the last one.
You know what? I think we might have. I don't know if we're in the same place, but Telex 7. I know that we were attached to 4 Scots for that operational tour.
I remember 2 partners seemed to be on like a lot of the same rotations as the Highlanders.
Yeah, that was
tour wise.
That was me. That was me. Where were you then? I was at did Basra Hotel.
Yeah, same.
OSB and the Palace.
Yeah, so they were the same 3 rotations we would do. So mainly we were in Basra, and then we'd send a multiple out to the Palace. Did a little short time at OSB, but that's where RPG Alley was, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, you had the back in the day. It would have been the same time as you at OSB. The what were they called? The internal police. It was the Iraqi police that was basically like the dodgiest police.
The police station was next door, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So we did a few lakes up on the roof and stuff there. If I remember correctly, I think it was because the Wi-Fi was down, so we had to go there to provide Overwatch or something. It was watching rooftops and nothing happening.
Yeah. You know what? I probably won't put this part in the podcast. It was just interesting to see that you were there at the same time. So my multiple in Iraq was the section commander was a guy called, like, literally in the same place. But here we go, like however many years later, having a conversation about it.
Yeah, it's a small world. It is. It was a good tour, but at the same time, it was like I was still pretty new as well, even though I was a Lance Corporal. Right the way up until, I mean, I couldn't even sign off when I'd done juniors. So mentally, I hadn't really matured, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think just like fitness and military knowledge was getting me through rather than maturity of the bigger picture.
Yeah, I think I was 18 at that point. Or I might just have my birthday, 19-year-old. And being in Iraq and it was really frustrating because you'd have all these chats, you know, you'd have all these stories of people getting into firefights and all this sort of stuff, and you're always on edge. You know, there's always that edge where you're like, something's going to happen, and then nothing happens. It's like you're at this like hypervigilance for ages, and there's no release. Or if it is a release, it's because you're running around Kazavacking one of your own friendlies rather than actually getting to, you know, engage with the enemy and deal with them. It was more like just absolute 6 months of frustration, to be fair, for me.
Yeah, but no, 100%. And it was like, I mean, we had some fun doing some like, and I say fun, because as soon as like Herrick starts and it's like you're itching to get into a tick, and then once it's there, after a couple of months, you're like, this is shit, you know? You like, be careful what you wish for type thing. But that's that immaturity I kind of feel of like, and it's, I always struggle with this one when I like speak to my friends and that about it. It's like, it's immaturity, but at the same time, you don't want to spend your whole career training for something and it never happen. You know, so you like being a firefighter, but you never ever get to put out a fire. But then at the same time, you don't want someone's house to burn down. So it's like that strange feeling. But yeah, that frustration of you're out on patrol. I mean, we got pretty much thrashed. So yeah, so our platoon commander at the time, he just promoted to a sergeant major, and he was like my idol in the battalion. A guy called Tony Moore, and he was another Scouser. So straight off the bat, but he was a Scouser that wasn't in the pipe bands, whereas a lot of the Scousers that joined the Highlanders were joined to be a piper or a drummer. So he's like, you know, always been recce platoon, sniper. He ran the sniper car there. So he's like my look up, you know. And then so the way he was like mega into his fitness, but at the same time always wants to be in the mix. So we'd be like, our routine on Telek was pretty much recce patrols out during the daytime, finding possible lake positions. Every night we'd do a lake. As soon as we come back in from that lake, it'd be his 3 times, because it was 1 mile around the perimeter of the camp, wasn't it?
Mm.
So you'd be like, oh, we'll just do 3 laps. Then 10 laps later, we're like looking at him going, right, he can't count. And then a little bit of op massive, and then you'd be getting ready, another kit check, ready for another patrol.
Yeah, it's a hard life actually, isn't it?
Yeah,
you're literally on point at all times. There's no taking your mind off the game, and if you do, it's only for momentarily where you might get around and watch a little movie together, and then you'll only get halfway through it, and then you'll get, you know, some alarm will go off and you'll be on the walls again. Or but yeah, that's always definitely frustrating. I think that was when I first started thinking, like, instead of hitting the punch bag and stuff like that, which wasn't really working for me to relieve that frustration, I think I started writing stuff down. That's how I kind of got into it, you know, the poetry side of stuff. But how did you get into the drawing? Where did that stem from?
So I'd say from like a young age, like as far back as I can remember. Pardon me, got an injection. So my nan, so whenever I had a dad growing up, so my mum pretty much looked after me, my brother and sister, but she worked as well. So my nan, we'd always get dropped off at my nan's. So we'd walk from our house to my nan's, and then we'd have breakfast in her nan's, then go to school from there, and then come back from primary school, go back to my nan's. And then like during the summer holidays, so a lot of time spent with my nan. My nan was really good at drawing. And if you were ever bored in my nan's flat, it would always be, oh, well, there's pencil and paper. So then that just always started the drawing from there. Or like my nan on days out, so the summer holidays, we'd always go like, do you remember, I don't know if they still do them, it's been ages since I've gone on a bus. But you know, the zone tickets?
Yeah.
All day. So my nan would buy a zone ticket for us. And that's what we do. We just, for the summer holidays, it'd be little days out, little pack lunch in a bag, and we'd just go somewhere free, you know, so it's a cheap day out to the Albert Dock, in the city centre, look at the ships, walk around the docks, go visit the free museums, stuff like that. So and then when you get back, you're then trying to draw the things you've seen and stuff. So it all kick-started from there. Yeah, really. So like between like me, my brother, and like all my cousins, there's all that little artistic traits which I kind of contribute to me nan.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's really good. You know, to have a nan like that to take you out and do stuff like that as a young'un, and just kind of set you up for success, I guess.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%. And the mad thing was, she'd always say to us when I was young, because I was like, oh, I want to be an artist. And she was like, no, you don't. You don't make money till you're dead. And I'm like, you know, it never, like the penny never dropped. Just the saying I used to always hear. And but on the flip side of always wanting to be an artist, from the age of 5, I knew I wanted to join the military. So, like, not having a dad, as much as everything else is there for you, you know, I'm not like playing victim here, but you'd always want a male role model to look up to. So for me, that was my uncles. So I had like 3 uncles, but one of them, the oldest one, my Uncle Martin, he was ex-Marine. So he was in like Borneo and based out in Singapore, and he was a sniper as well. So that was like, right, that's it. And he was gutted when I joined the army. But his big thing was, as long as I don't join the paras, that was his
brilliant.
Yeah. So yeah. So I always had him, looking up to him and hearing his stories of jumping out of a balloon and stuff. And so that was always in my mind. And then, so yeah, I was going to join. I joined cadets when I was fit. Well, I was 12 and a half. I lied about my age. Told them I was 13. I was in that right up until I joined the army at 18. And then, yeah.
Yeah, I pretty much did the same thing. I went from running around the woods with some stick guns to joining the army at 16, going to Harrogate and doing the old, you know, junior entry thing. But it's another way of expressing yourself. Every career that somebody gets, you know, they get that career because they want to, you know, some people want to look a certain way and be in a certain stature within society. And then it's just, you know, the creative types amongst us are people that are creative types and have an element of bravery still left over from school, where the school system hasn't, you know, got rid of that bravery yet. You know, it's quite formidable that people that have creative side still have a bit of bravery in them. They join the army and they're kind of get indoctrinated into that, and then, you know, get disciplined to the point where they use that courage for the better of the country and for the operational tours that we deploy on. It's a very niche, I wouldn't say skill, but more a niche characteristic of people that want to put themselves in that position. And it's probably the creative types that are more likely to go out and get, you know, have that courage to get out there and do that job. Yeah,
I mean, you know, like that saying of like, if you could start it all again, like I 100% would still have joined the army, even though I left. Like I love soldiering, like I absolutely, and I still miss it every day. And when I speak to my friends or see what they're up to, you know, you start questioning, oh, did I make the right decision getting out and stuff? And then you have that, well, you wouldn't have what you have now, but it definitely makes you who you are. And it sets you up so much for success with like, just like your organizational skills, how you do things in your life, having that self-discipline, you know, as you were saying, like what's instilled with you of, like my wife, if she hears this back, she'd be laughing going like, well, your admin's absolutely terrible. You know, when it counts with what you're doing, your admin's good, you know? So yeah, having that self-discipline, which is instilled, and not to like separate myself from other people in the industry I'm in now, but you can see that difference, you know, where I've met other artists that are ex-forces, and you see how they've approached the career, or how they even when I'm trying to learn, like when I was learning to tattoo, because it was self-taught, which is a really hard route to go. So what took me 5 years to try and get, I could have learned in 6 months if someone just showed me.
Yeah.
but being able to break down what I'm doing and making it systematic and even where I've taught. So I'm like teaching my wife how to tattoo at the moment. And even the way I'm teaching her, like, just having that understanding of how you would teach in the military to break something down. So it's Billy Basic, in steps, it's all logical, makes sense. And I wouldn't have that unless it was from the military.
Yeah. You can see it in the way that people stand. You could go to the train station or you go downtown and see the way that people walk and talk and act. You can normally pick out maybe a bit of haircut, will give it away as well, but you can normally pick out a soldier from a distance. You're like, all right, he's got his head up, he's looking around, he's being observant, he's talking with confidence. And that all comes from, when you're teaching somebody how to locate the enemy, for example, and you give a target indication and they have to stand up in front of their peers and, speak confidently. And it sounds like it's just a little Bakshi lesson, a basic lesson, but it actually is skills that can transfer into the civilian world as well. And you can see it just in
100%.
Yeah. Anyway, I haven't upgraded my little thing, so it's going to time out soon. So what we'll do is, if you want to plug any last bits now, or any last things you want to say.
Well, thanks very much for having me on your podcast. Thanks for your wife as well, Charlotte. Is it?
Yeah.
So
she's a
thanks
big
very
fan.
much, Charlotte, for tagging me. Apologies it took me so long to get back to your DM. I've very rarely gone there. So if anyone has DM me, I'm not being arrogant. It's not me thinking, because all I do is do pretty pictures for a living. I'm not doing anything fancy. So I'm not arrogant. I don't think I'm a rock star. It's just, it's easier for me to organise if it's all in one place. So all my bookings and inquiries are via email. So if you send that, and then my wife Hayley, she sends like a generic thing. It's like a set of JIs. But it has all the information that you need, and then we just take it from there.
Perfect. Yeah. To the civilians, JIs is joining instructions. So join the get yourself on the Tattoo Studio website or the Instagram. Check it out. It's fantastic. The artwork on there is phenomenal. You should hold your head up very high, James. It's awesome, mate.
Thank you very much, Ash. Absolute pleasure. Cheers, mate.
Hello, everyone. You're listening to Blue Pigment Podcast. If you want to become a patron of this show, please go to patreon.com/bluepigment. You will be helping me help the talent that I find along the way. Not only that, the podcast is an advocate for mental health and the positive message in which we want to send about mental health. So if you are a bit about that and you want to jump on board, then please become a patron at patreon.com/bluepigment. Would love to have you on board. And not only that, you'll get the chance to get some free stuff. I'll be giving another big giveaway soon. To find out what it is, go to patreon.com/bluepigment, become a patron, and get yourself some free stuff.
Sponsoring the podcast today are Airborne Fit. Airborne Fit is more than just a fitness brand. It represents true team spirit and the coming together of members to create that family feeling. With the support and encouragement of each other, members become motivated, remain disciplined, and work with pure grit and determination to achieve their goals. Airborne's Fit motto is fitter, faster, stronger together. Check out airbornefit.com or visit their Instagram at airbornefitofficial.
Blue Pigment Podcast is sponsored by Huscarl. Go to huscarl.co.uk and use the discount code BLUEPIGMENT for 15% off. Get yourself some t-shirts, stickers, baseball caps, hoodies, printouts, and many more products from Huscarl. Blue Pigment Podcast, sponsored by Huscarl.
The opinions or views expressed on this podcast are solely of my own or the guests and do not represent the opinions or views of anybody else or the Ministry of Defence.
Shish kebab, Shawshank Redemption, Chicago! You're out of there!